I'll call this meeting of the HISGAC subcommittee to order. I'd like to welcome everybody to the hearing today, which is titled Sounding the Alarm, America's Fire Apparatus Crisis. This is the second hearing of the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Subcommittee on Disaster Management, which I am privileged to chair and which I am delighted to work on with my colleague, Ranking Member Kim. And I want to thank especially all of our witnesses for being here. You've all traveled, some from great distance, to be here with us today, and I want to thank everybody who's in the room and those of you who are watching online. Let me just say briefly and simply, here is why we're here today. Since 2020, prices for fire trucks have doubled, and delivery times have in some cases quadrupled. My staff has spoken with numerous fire chiefs from across the country. I had the privilege to chat with fire chiefs from my home state of Missouri just in the last few weeks, and what they tell me is the same thing. Everybody that we talk to, the same thing, that they cannot get the fire trucks that they desperately need, they cannot get the fire equipment that they desperately need, the prices are higher than they've ever been, and waiting times have never exceeded what we're seeing currently. Now, most of my state is rural and protected by small and, frankly, less well-funded fire departments than some of the big ones in urban centers. But the truth is, it doesn't matter, urban or rural, everyone is facing this similar set of challenges. Fire departments today are lucky if they can get their hands on engines that are 20 or 30 years old. Some fire stations don't even have a single functional fire truck and are forced to borrow trucks from neighboring departments. This increases response times, which can mean, of course, lives lost, property damage. And if you want a real-world example, you don't have to look any further than the wildfires that ravaged California and Los Angeles in January of this year. More than half, get this, more than half of LA's fire department, their aging engines were out of commission. Half of them in the midst of this crisis, preventing available firemen from getting to the front lines. And there are similar stories from almost every municipality across the country, whether it's in Texas, Houston, whether it's Atlanta, Chicago, Seattle. So what's going on here? That's really the subject of today's hearing. Why is this happening? I'll give you just one little clue. 2 words: Wall Street. In 2008, a private equity entity bought up a fire truck manufacturer and over the next decade rolled up 6 or 7 more fire truck brands in what today is known as the Rev Group. As a result, some 70 to 80% of the market is controlled by 3 or 4 companies. Think about that. 70 to 80% of the market controlled by 3 or 4 companies. Since the Rev Group bought its last fire truck company back in 2020, the largest manufacturers have seen their order backlogs more than quadruple. That means that fire departments are forced to wait years for fire trucks. We're not talking about a few weeks here. We're not talking about a few months. Before, a new fire engine order took between 6 months and a year standard to get delivery. Today, those orders take 2 years on the low end, 4 years on the high end. Other companies are doing the same. We are seeing a constant pattern here of more and more backlogs, higher and higher wait times, and yet more and more profits by the companies. Where is the money going to exactly? That's a question I'd like to see if we can't answer today. The companies are more profitable than ever. Their backlogs are bigger than ever. Where is this money going to? The firemen can't get the trucks. They can't get the engines. They can't get the apparatuses they need. Where is the money going? Who is profiting off of it? This is a crisis, pure and simple. It is a crisis for just about every fire department in America. It's time to sound the alarm on it and do something about it. And I hope that today's hearing will be a step in the right direction. With that, I'll recognize the ranking member.
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman, for pulling together this hearing, and thank you to the witnesses for showing up. We are on the eve of September 11th, 24 years since that tragedy, and it's something that we in New Jersey feel particularly mournful about, but all across this country, we remember that tragic day. 121 engine companies responded. 62 ladder companies responded. We saw many firefighters in New Jersey and across this country go and take part in the rescue and the recovery. We lost 343 firefighters that day. Many more went on to develop serious health problems in the months and years after that attack because of their heroic actions. FDNY lost nearly 100 pieces of apparatus, including trucks. When I look back on that day, it was in many ways the purest example of service that I saw in my lifetime. Firefighters running towards the fire, trying to do everything they can to rescue in such extraordinary circumstances. It was an example of service that inspired me that day to then dedicate my life to trying to serve this country. But even on the days that aren't memorialized for eternity, we see this service encouraged. Earlier this year, as mentioned, brave men and women stepping up to address wildfires across this country, including in New Jersey, where we saw over 6,000 acres of forest in Warden State Park burned. We saw the efforts in Los Angeles and elsewhere. And when we look at this, what we try to think about is the promise that we make. The promise that we make to these brave men and women is that as they step up to be able to protect our communities and our families from harm, what is on us is to make sure that they have everything that they can have to be successful and to be able to do that safely. So that's the question. Are we providing our firefighters everything that they need to be successful and to be able to do this job with every protection that they have afforded? And the answer is no. When we see the challenges that are before us, when I talk to fire departments back in New Jersey about the extraordinary costs that we're facing, this is something we see affecting, as mentioned, the big cities to the rural communities. I was astonished to learn how just one fire truck can cost well over $1 million, now $2 million. It's not even including the cost of repairs over its lifetime. Earlier this year, I was glad to join Chairman Hawley in sending a letter to the major companies in the fire apparatus industry, some of whom are represented here today, demanding answers to questions that so many communities have. And our job today is try to get answers to that. Fundamentally, why is it so hard and it's so expensive to be able to provide and outfit those that are there to be able to protect us? In order for them to be successful, we need to be able to make sure that they have everything that they need. Today, along with my colleagues, I want to continue the work we started to get to the bottom of this issue facing the fire apparatus industry. We must do a better job of making sure every American community can afford and have access to the equipment that it needs to keep its people safe. And with that, I'll yield back.
Thank you very much. It's the practice of the subcommittee to swear in our witnesses before we begin testimony. So could I invite you to stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Very good. It's my privilege now to introduce each of the witnesses. We'll just go one at a time down the dais. I want to give each of you an opportunity to make an opening statement. Again, we're so grateful that each of you are here. Let me start on my left with Chief Dennis Rubin. Chief Rubin currently serves as the Fire Chief of Kansas City, Kansas. He has, for more than 40 years, been in fire and rescue. This includes 10 years as the Fire Chief of Washington, D.C. and Atlanta. Chief Rubin, you are a hero. Thank you for the work that you do for my region, the place that we call home together, but also for all of the places you've served. The floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Without a doubt, it's the men and women of the fire service that actually are the heroes. I'm glad to be a small part of that. Senator Hawley, Chair, Ranking Member, Senator Kim, and members of the Disaster Subcommittee, thank you for the invitation to appear to participate today. And I also would like to say thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedules to discuss the status of the current national fire apparatus crisis that includes pricing, delivery time, original equipment manufacturer, OEM repair parts availability. I have served in several cities, as was mentioned by the chair, both Atlanta and Washington, D.C. as the fire chiefs. And in that position, I've been able to order many, many fire trucks. And currently today, I also oversee the maintenance of those same fire trucks. Our goal today is to begin discussing some unacceptable situations to this committee and bring them to your attention that has serious negative impact on the health, safety, welfare, and security of our firefighters, along with our communities, and for most communities in the United States of America. Fire apparatus costs have skyrocketed along with escalating price as well as delivery time and the ability to get repair parts. They're simply not available. And essentially, I think we can break that down to pre-COVID and post-COVID. Each of these situations then negatively affect our ability to deliver high-quality, life-saving, property protection, and other related safety and security services, which is offered by every local fire department. Federal government oversight, controls, and enforcement to resolve these problems should be considered. Public safety service is the bedrock of every community in our great nation. Delays in fire apparatus procurement and repairs threaten the ability of fire departments to perform our sworn duties to our community. The reoccurring argument by fire apparatus manufacturers for the cost spikes and apparatus delivery delays often is described as the fire service wants too many custom accoutrements. Perhaps the future holds 3 distinct fire truck assembly lines, one line for urban cities, a second line for suburban and rural communities. Along with those 2 lines, essentially much standardization would be possible, and having just very few options. Pricing and delivery times could be controlled much better, as well as pricing. The third assembly line would be the boutique line. And essentially, with the boutique line, you could order custom paint, unlimited options, many bells, whistles, and frills. But of course, you'll pay for that, as well as the extended delivery times. If I may, I'd like to describe a case study that occurred in Kansas City, Kansas. During the month of June, July, and August of 2023, the Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department experienced a very serious disruption in our fire suppression and emergency medical response capabilities. 5 of our 15 frontline fire trucks were out of service and in need of significant repairs and was unavailable for response duty. Our system disruption was caused by extended delay in obtaining OEM repair parts from the manufacturer. With the city's fire and emergency medical response capability reduced by 33%, the delivery of high-quality service was very much interrupted. Replacing the standard triple combination pumpers that we operate was 4 SUV Chevrolet Tahoe vehicles with a loaned brush truck from a neighboring community. No ladders, no hose, no significant amount of water, no rescue tools, and only limited emergency medical equipment. Quite frankly, that's not an acceptable response model for ours or any community. The current status, as we've gone through this experience, the questions must be asked. How do local fire departments replace fire trucks that have been involved in crashes or other problems that renders it unusable for an extended period of time? The wait of 3 to 5 years for replacement is unacceptable. Any fire department would have a very difficult time solving the problem for their community protection if there was a disaster. Finally, the actual apparatus purchasing experience by KCKFD demonstrates a dramatic percentage increase in both price and delivery time. Prior to COVID pandemic, that began in March of 2020, the average price of a pumper purchased by our community was $627,000. The average delivery time was 10 months. Since the beginning of the pandemic, the current pumper price has increased by 36.6% to $857,500, and the delivery time has more than doubled to 29 months. I will close by pointing out that the views expressed here are my own and do not necessarily reflect that of the position of Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department, Kansas City, Kansas government, or that of the Wyandotte, Kansas government. Thank you once again for allowing this time for us to express our ever-growing concerns about fire apparatus crisis in this great United States.
Thank you very much, Chief. Next up is Mr. Edward Kelly. Mr. Kelly is the General President of the International Association of Firefighters. That's the largest labor union of firefighters in the United States. You represent some great men and women. Mr. Kelly, thank you for being here. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chairman, would you indulge me on the eve of the 24th anniversary of September 11th? Would you mind if we stood for a moment of silence in remembrance of the almost 3,000 Americans that lost their lives that day, including the 343 FDNY members and 1 New York City Fire Patrol member who died heroically?
Let's do it. Thank you all. You may be seated. Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for having me, Mr. Chairman and Rank and File Member Kim. Thank you so much. I'm here today to help shine a light on a critical issue that is adversely impacting public safety all across the United States. In these halls and hearing rooms, the term public safety usually rolls off the tongue. I know that Senator Hawley and other members of the committee fully understand the true impact of inadequate public safety across our great country. You have my deep thanks for your commitment to that. As a 31-year firefighter, both in the United States Air Force and the city of Boston, I've had the honor of living public safety for most of my adult life. I've seen what happens to our neighbors and our communities when the public safety net is compromised in any way. And as General President of the International Association of Firefighters, representing nearly 360,000 firefighters and emergency medical workers, my job is to do everything I can to guarantee that the nation's fire service is fully prepared to respond to the countless daily calls for help. Anything that gets in the way of our mission is unacceptable, and we have a duty to overcome it. It's a zero-fail mission. We are facing a crisis across the United States that's been building for close to 20 years, and the consequences have been dire. Too many cities and towns are asking their firefighters to operate with old, broken down, or even non-existent fire apparatus. And we're here today to investigate the reasons why this dangerous reality exists. Steadily and purposefully, apparatus manufacturers have rigged the game, taking a well-used page out of the corporate big money playbook. A small but powerful group of manufacturers, some of whom are controlled and supported by Wall Street private equity interests, has caused the price of fire engines and ladder trucks to balloon in recent years. Making matters worse, the time from contract execution to delivery of a new vehicle has stretched into staggering delays. These delays have absolutely had dangerous impacts on the safety of our neighbors, and the prices are crippling municipal budgets. An industry that a short time ago had dozens of manufacturers has been rolled up to the point where the three largest players, the Rev Group, Pierce, and Rosenbauer, now control 70 to 80% of the market share. This chokehold on free trade is even greater in certain regions of the country. Rev Group, the brainchild of a New York-based private equity firm, American Industrial Partners, is far and away the largest player in this game. Systematically, Rev Group has gobbled up independently owned apparatus manufacturers such as E1, Ferrara, KME, Ladder Tower, Spartan, and others. The result of this serial acquisition has been predictable. The market competition has been eliminated, and the consumer, the cities and towns that buy the apparatus we rely on to do our jobs, and in many cases, the federal government that supplies grants to buy those apparatus, have been victimized. In fact, I'd be willing to bet that the U.S. government has been victimized the most. The Department of Defense budget set forth in the National Defense Authorization Act purchases fire apparatus for military installations all across the globe. In the fiscal year 2025, that number was to the tune of $150 million. Some bases haven't been able to replace out-of-service apparatus, and as a result, 6 firefighters have been forced to respond on 1 ambulance, not even on an engine company. This market manipulation has created a clear and present danger. If we can't protect our military assets, our national defense is compromised. The data compiled by the IFF and others leads one to the conclusion that these market conditions were planned and executed by corporate interests that do not share our collective goal of public safety. While the Rev Group touts to investors its multi-billion-dollar product backlog, which equates to predictable future revenue streams for their companies, it's also posting its highest historical revenues and rising profit margins. And the results have been disastrous. My written testimony is replete with real-world examples of the dangerous situation that's been created, and I commend this subcommittee for its work. On behalf of the IFF and our nation's firefighters, I stand ready to work with this subcommittee and all others who want to be part of the solution. This problem cannot be allowed to persist. I fully embrace the idea that history is a great teacher. There was a time not long ago when AT&T controlled nearly all of our country's telephone service and equipment. They owned the phones, wires, switches, lines, and manufacturing plants. Everything belonged to Ma Bell. We saw an advent of cordless phones, answering machines, and fax machines when that monopoly got broken up. More importantly, the free market was unleashed on the telecommunications industry, which resulted in real competition, consumer choice, and better options for us all. Seems like a lighthearted story, but it was a real problem just a generation ago. Our jobs as firefighters are dangerous even when everything's going right. We now face a danger created by others who are driven not by public safety but by profits and nothing else. And these roll-ups that are hijacking the American way of doing business have resulted in astronomically inflated prices and backlogs in delivery time that are needlessly jeopardizing the lives of the citizens we took an oath to protect and the firefighters I took an oath to protect. The ramifications of what's going on in the fire apparatus industry, I've seen firsthand how it can kill somebody. My friend Kevin Kelly was a lieutenant on Ladder 26 in Boston. At that time, our apparatus fleet was in incredible disrepair. That ladder truck lost its brakes on a hill, careened at 68 miles an hour down it, crossed a street with 4 lanes of traffic and 2 trolley tracks, crashed through parked cars through a brick wall into the first floor of a high-rise that housed a daycare center. Several people were injured. By the grace of God, only Kevin Kelly was killed. But Kevin Kelly died because he didn't have a fire truck that worked. We're seeing this play out in cities all across America. We need to stop it now. This committee's on the right track. I look forward to working with you, and I look forward to answering any questions you might have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kelly. Next up is Mr. Basil Musharbush. Basil is the principal attorney of Anti-Monopoly Counsel, an antitrust law and policy firm in Texas. Mr. Musharbush, the floor is yours. Did I pronounce your name correctly, by the way? Am I close?
You did, Senator.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Senator. Chairman Hawley, Ranking Member Kim, and members of the subcommittee, thank you for holding this important hearing and conducting this critical investigation into the fire apparatus industry. My name is Basil Musharbush, as the Senator said, and I am an antitrust and trade regulation attorney in Paris, Texas. My practice focuses on helping farmers, small businesses, and local governments remedy the problems of concentrated corporate power in rural communities. As part of that work, over the past year, I've had a chance to investigate monopolization and the elimination of competition in a number of industries that supply public safety products to local governments. I found potentially unlawful corporate conduct in many of the industries I looked at. But what I found in the fire apparatus industry was truly appalling. As Chief Rubin and General President Kelly's statements have made clear, fire departments across this country are in crisis. The cost of fire trucks, money that this Congress has appropriated and that taxpayers across this country are paying, has doubled in the last decade. Wait times for new fire trucks have ballooned from 12 months in the mid-2010s to more than 3 years today in many cases. As a result, fire trucks that should have been retired after 15 or 20 years in service are now routinely struggling through their 30th birthdays on the front lines, with dire and often deadly consequences, as Mr. Kelly perfectly illustrated. The 2 fire truck manufacturers whose representatives are with us today, Rev Group and Pierce Manufacturing, are, in my view, the most responsible for these escalating fire truck prices and these metastasizing production delays. Rev Group has rolled up its strongest competitors, turning the industry into a virtual duopoly alongside Pierce. Both companies have consolidated control over the supply of Rev Group has consolidated control over the supply of critical inputs for the small fire truck manufacturers that remain, undermining their ability to offer effective competition. Both companies have pushed their licensed dealers to merge with each other, eliminating competition in the downstream repair and replacement part markets. And they have entrenched their dominance through exclusive arrangements with input suppliers and government procurement platforms. Insulated from competition by this consolidation of power, they have been able to focus on wringing as much profit from fire departments as possible and funneling those profits not back into their businesses to build new plants and cure backlogs, but out to their financiers and investors. In short, they appear to have transformed a once vibrant industry into a racket designed to flagrantly profiteer off of shortages and backlogs of life-saving equipment. Luckily, members of the committee, we are not powerless in the face of corporate abuse. We can remedy the crisis in fire truck manufacturing, and we can prevent future crises like it in critical industries across our economy by taking 3 targeted actions. First, the Federal Trade Commission and the Justice Department should promptly take all appropriate action to restrain Rev Group and Pierce from engaging in monopolistic conduct and to restore free and fair competition to the fire apparatus industry. The city of LaCroix, Wisconsin, has already brought an antitrust class action on behalf of local governments nationwide against these companies. Federal enforcers should follow their lead and investigate Rev Group and Pierce's anti-competitive business practices. Second, the Federal Trade Commission should conduct a public 6B inquiry to bring sunshine into this opaque industry. Specifically, the inquiry should seek to identify 2 things. First, the methods that Rev Group and Pierce have used to consolidate economic power and deploy that power. Second, the inquiry should focus on identifying the barriers to effective competition facing the industry's smaller manufacturers, so that once again we can figure out how to have a healthy ecosystem of fire truck manufacturers in this country. Finally, while I believe the substance of the antitrust laws prohibits much of the abusive conduct implicated here, part of the reason that Rev Group and Pierce have been able to escape scrutiny for so long is that judicial activism has, frankly, made the antitrust laws well nigh inadministrable. Congress can and should enact reforms to facilitate prompt and effective antitrust enforcement. And I'll be happy to share some ideas about that with the committee during our discussion. Thank you so much for your attention to this matter. I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Misharbush. Thank you for being here. Next up is Mr. Mike Vernig. Is that how I pronounce it, Mr. Vernig? Mr. Vernig is the president of REV, or Rev Group Specialty Vehicles Group, where he oversees Rev's fire truck segment. Mr. Vernig, thank you for being here. The floor is yours.
Chairman Hawley, Ranking Member Kim, and esteemed members of the committee, I'm humbled to appear before you on behalf of Rev Group. I have been in the fire business every day for the last 25 years, and I am passionate about equipping first responders with reliable, mission-critical vehicles. I want to be clear about who Rev Group really is. We're an American manufacturer. We source 98% of our materials from American suppliers. We employ thousands of American workers in high-quality manufacturing jobs to build life-saving equipment for communities across this country that depend upon us. On the eve of anniversary of 9/11, a day when we honor the courage of our American first responders, I'm proud to say that we make it our mission to provide American firefighters with the vehicles they can count on when it matters most. That mission inspires us every day, which is why we take great care in building hand-built, high-quality fire trucks for departments across the country. Our business sustains families, supports local communities, and strengthens the American economy. In our facilities in Florida, Michigan, South Dakota, Pennsylvania, Louisiana, Nebraska, and New York, we employ thousands of American workers. These are welders and electricians, material handlers, and other skilled craftsmen who build fire trucks for communities across our country. The craftsmanship and care we put into every truck reflects the responsibility we feel for the firefighters that depend on our vehicles. A typical fire truck takes thousands of hours to build, requiring precision and dedication of highly skilled craftsmen at every stage of the process. Unlike, for example, a Ford F-150 pickup truck that can be mass-produced in around 20 hours, fire trucks are handmade, purpose-built machines customized down to the smallest detail. Fire trucks need to be ready for service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. These have expected lifespans of 15 to 20 years, while facing some of the harshest and most dangerous conditions imaginable. At Rev Group, we think about this every day. We take enormous pride in building the vehicles to keep our brave firefighters and communities that they serve safe. We know the prices and lead times for fire trucks are higher today than in the past. Our entire industry has been challenged by a dramatic cost inflation, an unprecedented federal stimulus-driven spike in demand, significant supply chain disruptions, and the contraction of skilled labor workforce. We have taken bold steps and are working hard every day to confront these challenges. Over the past 3 years, our significant investment in people, process, and facilities have increased our production of fire trucks by around 40%, which has allowed us to significantly decrease the delivery times for our average trucks. Our average delivery time for a truck currently sits at 2 years. And we continue to invest in our people and our facilities. We invest in training and higher wages for our workforce and in plants and equipment to expand capacity. Just last month, we broke ground on a major expansion of our Brandon, South Dakota facility, which will further increase our output and create high-quality manufacturing jobs. In addition, in response to customer needs for faster delivery and lower price points, we have developed innovative lines of highly capable semi-custom fire trucks that deliver the performance of a fully custom fire truck and can be built and delivered in less than a year. We stand ready to get these high-quality trucks to fire departments who have readiness shortfalls. In fact, right now, we have slots available for these trucks in 2026. At Rev Group, we pride ourselves on understanding the needs of our customers and know that fire departments need budget and pricing certainty when making the decision to purchase a fire truck. Our guaranteed price contracts give our customers that certainty. The price for a vehicle is locked in when an order is finalized. If the cost of inputs rise, that is on us, not on our customers. We honor our commitments, and we don't make a dime on a fire truck until it gets delivered. We have taken significant steps to boost our production and bring innovative products to the market so that we can get more fire trucks on the road faster, and we will continue to build on that progress. The courage of the firefighters and first responders we serve inspires us to build more, work harder, and deliver faster for them every single day. At Rev Group, we understand that every truck we build is more than a vehicle. It's a vital tool for brave men and women who put their lives on the line and run towards danger to save others. I thank you for your time, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vernig. And finally, we've got Mr. Dan Meyer. Mr. Meyer is the Vice President of Sales at Pierce Manufacturing, where he oversees Pierce's fire truck dealer and customer support network. Mr. Meyer, thank you for being here. The floor is yours.
Chairman Hawley, Ranking Member Kim, and members of the subcommittee, thank you for the opportunity to discuss Pierce's mission of delivering high-quality, innovative fire trucks that help firefighters protect and serve our communities. It's my honor to assist the subcommittee's work on an important issue facing fire apparatus manufacturers. My name is Dan Meyer. I'm the Vice President of Sales at Pierce Manufacturing and Oshkosh Corporation Business. I spent the vast majority of my career at Pierce because I believe in our mission and I know firsthand the impact Pierce has on my community. I was born and raised in Appleton, Wisconsin, where Pierce started over a century ago and is operated to this day. Our story is uniquely American. Pierce began as a father and son shop building truck bodies on Model T Ford chassis. Today, Pierce proudly builds American-made fire trucks manufactured by over 3,000 craftsmen, welders, and engineers across 10 principal facilities in Wisconsin, Florida, and Tennessee. And we do so with firefighters top of mind. Whether supporting them as Pierce builds the trucks that they need or walking them through our facilities along the build cycle, or standing beside them on the final inspection of their fire apparatus, I have the honor of engaging with these heroes every single day. At Pierce, I also work alongside more than 100 active and former firefighters and other first responders. I think it's clear that our mission is personal. It's a privilege to be here alongside witnesses that include distinguished fire service leaders. President Kelly and Chief Rubin are public servants dedicated to making our communities safer, and that is why I take their concerns so seriously. At Pierce, we are unwavering in our support of the American Fire Service. We will always honor our more than century-long commitment to being transparent with our customers. I share the subcommittee's serious concern about the industry-wide prolonged lead times since the pandemic, when demand for fire apparatus skyrocketed as supply chains and labor became strained. The current lead times, which are a function of that demand spike, are simply unacceptable, and Pierce remains laser-focused on reducing them to pre-pandemic norms. I'm happy to share that, while there is plenty of work left to do, Pierce has been making progress. We shipped more trucks last quarter than any other quarter in Pierce's history, and we acknowledged the lead time problem as soon as it emerged, and we have made and will continue to make historic investments to increase throughput. Since lead times began to extend in 2022, Pierce has invested approximately $50 million to increase throughput, and we have another $100 million on the way. In less than 3 years, Pierce grew our workforce by more than 25%, adding 800 good-paying American jobs. We expanded our manufacturing space by 28%, adding nearly 500,000 square feet. In short, we are significantly increasing investments to meet the needs of our customers, and our ship rate reflects that commitment. That said, Pierce recognizes the need to provide options for our customers. For departments that don't want to wait for custom fire apparatus, we produce stock trucks, which are built to standard specifications and in many cases are available immediately. I also want to emphasize that Pierce has always been committed to being fair, honest, and transparent about our costs. The cost to make fire trucks, like other heavy equipment, climbed substantially in recent years due to supply chain and labor disruptions across industries. While material costs in the fire truck manufacturing process remain high, at Pierce, price increases have slowed significantly. Finally, I understand the subcommittee is interested in reports of consolidation in the fire truck manufacturing industry. I want to be clear. Neither Oshkosh nor Pierce has acquired any other U.S.-based fire truck manufacturer. I'm deeply proud that our growth has been organic, driven by innovation, a commitment to our customers, and high-quality support for Pierce trucks long after they leave our factory. Our plan for growth is to continue investing in our business and our people, not through acquisitions. I know our customers have choices when purchasing their trucks, and Pierce fiercely competes with dozens of manufacturers wherever we sell. These choices are also reflected in our aftermarket business, where customers have a choice on who services their vehicles. I'd like to reiterate Pierce's appreciation for the subcommittee's efforts to ensure that firefighters are getting the vital tools they need as quickly as possible, especially on the eve of a day in our history when 343 firefighters made the ultimate sacrifice. When firefighters are first in and last out, they need to rely on their equipment, and they can rely on Pierce. Thank you for inviting me to appear before you today, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much. Thanks to all of our witnesses. What we'll do now is proceed with some rounds of questioning. We'll do 7-minute rounds per member. We'll alternate. This is a very bipartisan panel, so I'm sure that the questions are going to be outstanding. And I'll start. Mr. Chief Rubin, let me just start with you. Chief, thank you again for being here. Let's just get right down to it. Trucks cost more than ever.
Yes, sir.
They're taking longer than ever to get to you.
Without a doubt, Senator.
How has that affected you directly?
In a very negative way. We have a limited budget. We're a urban community that has limited resources, limited tax resources, outcry from the community to lower taxes, but yet, in fact, we have to pay more for fire trucks. Remarkably so, sir.
You told the story in your opening statement about an incident when you had 5 out of 15 trucks out of service. You were having to respond with SUVs. You didn't have hose. You didn't have ladders. I mean, this is putting people's lives in danger, is it not? Is that fair to say?
Without a doubt. First and foremost, we worry about the firefighters' lives so that they can protect the citizens. And secondly, our citizens were unprotected. If there would have been a person on the second floor in need of rescue, they would have had to wait for the real fire truck to show up, sir.
Gosh, that's just unbelievable. Mr. Kelly, can I just ask you, you talked in your statement about the fact that every city in America practically is struggling with its fire fleets. We saw this in Los Angeles. You told your own personal story. Where else have you seen these effects? Where else have you seen firefighters put under the gun, so to speak, because of the lack of ready, available equipment that is ready to go?
Stories come out of every city, but I'd like to point to Chicago. About 2.5 months ago, they had a fire on the west side of Chicago. One of the first dual ladder trucks, Tower Ladder 14, responded with a spare piece. When they went to throw that aerial to effect rescues, it failed. They had to go down, shut it down, restart the whole apparatus again, get it back up into its hydraulic aerial, and then get it to move. That costs time. Time is lives on a fire ground. Now, unfortunately and sadly, we lost 4 civilians at that fire, including a young 5-year-old and that 5-year-old's mother. Now, the real sad part is I spoke with the lieutenant that was in charge of Tower Ladder 14 that night. Today, September 10th, 2.5 months later, at this very time, at 3:45 Eastern time, that very same spare rig is in service at Tower Ladder 14 in the west side of Chicago. That's wrong. That's not the only story. They had engine 121 that lost its brakes, crashed into a church. Now, you heard the story about Kevin Kelly. We're lucky we didn't lose firefighters and civilians. We had another ladder truck going down the street and the wheel came off and it crashed into cars. We're lucky we didn't kill anybody. This is happening time and time again. We have, as Chief Rubin pointed out, sometimes we have firefighters responding in pickup trucks, like a painting crew with ground ladders on it. It's scary, and it's in every city. It's a challenge everywhere. Rural, suburban, volunteer fire departments, paid professional.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kelly. Mr. Vernig, let me just turn to you. You are a part of one of these companies, the Rev Group, that along with 1 or 2 others accounts for about 80% of the market here. I wanted to show you something that one of your customers said recently. This is Matthew Timmerman of Watertown, New York. He's a fire chief there. This is in May of 2021. He ordered a $1.2 million ladder truck. The initial delivery estimate was for 380 days. It's right up there at the top of the poster. 380 days delivery estimate from your company. In December of 2022, 557 days after the order was placed, Watertown was forced to purchase a used ladder truck from a neighboring town because they were so desperate. Do you know if Watertown's truck that they ordered back in 2021 has yet arrived, Mr. Bragg?
Thank you, Senator, for the question. I'm not 100% sure if it's arrived, but I know that it was in production as of recent.
It has not arrived is the answer. My question to you is, why the heck not? It cost $1.2 million, $1,232,370 million. I mean, what's going on here? Why can't anybody get their trucks? Why is the delivery time so slow? What's happening?
So in the case of Watertown, Senator, we bought KME in 2016. KME
bought a lot of companies.
Well, KME was within weeks of closing down their factory. They were going out of business. We maintained our factory in Nescahoning for 5 years, trying to get it to turn around and be a profitable company. We made a decision to close that factory and move those trucks to our other facilities to build them. And in that process, there are a handful of trucks that got behind.
Well, a handful. I mean, what's your backlog right now? What's the approximate value of it? Do you know?
It's in the, I think, $2 billion something.
No, I think it's $4 billion in backlogs right now. The Rev Group, there you are in the black, $4 billion. And that's by design, isn't it, Mr. Vernig? I mean, this didn't just happen to you accidentally. I mean, this is a business decision, isn't it? You keep these backlogs like this. Isn't that right?
That is not correct, Senator.
Really? I mean, that's not what your CEO said. Let's take a look here. Your CEO said that it is your business practice to have these backlogs. Let me just read to you, and I think we'll find the quote. He said, our $4.5 billion backlog is attractive among industrial manufacturers, is largely backed by municipal tax receipts, and offers significant value accretion opportunity, providing a pathway for growth and margin expansion over the coming years. That was on your Q4 2024 earnings call.
So, Senator, we have guaranteed contract pricing. So for us to have a contract every day that it gets older, we actually have less opportunity to make money on that truck because of cost inputs going up.
My point is this. It's not as if it's just accidental. It's not one or two trucks. It's $4 billion worth of trucks that are backlog. It is a deliberate company strategy that your CEO is boasting about on his earning calls. By the way, speaking of earnings, how are your earnings these days?
We posted a decent quarter, but I would point out.
What's your margin right now about profit margin?
About 9.5%, 10%.
Well, I think it's over 13, actually. I mean, before your private equity company created your company, I mean, rolled up all of these competitors, you had margins of about 4 or 5%. Now they're over 13%. Your profits have grown 5 times over the last 5 years, $250 million, but nobody can get their equipment. I mean, you've got enormous profits. You have a huge backlog. These guys can't get any of their equipment. Where's the money going? You're making a gob of money. Like, where's it going? Not to their trucks. Where's it going?
Well, Senator, you're putting up numbers that are the whole division. We're talking about the fire division, so the numbers that I gave were fire division, but it's the same story. But if you look at 2025, the first 3 quarters of 2025, our operating profit is 3.7%.
Where's the money going? It's not going into production lines. You just said that you closed them. You've closed multiple production lines. You've closed them in Pennsylvania. You've closed them in Virginia. Your backlog is higher than ever. Your CEO's boasting about it. Your profits are incredible. Where's it going?
Senator, we reinvest in our businesses every single day. We've invested millions
in production?
Yes, we do.
Let me just ask you this. How much does your CEO make?
I believe that it's posted that he made about $6 million.
Yeah, $6 million. These guys can't get a truck. He's making $6 million. Have you spent any money on stock buybacks or dividends or payouts to your private equity ownership?
So we don't have any private equity ownership.
You did until just last year when they sold the company at a very considerable profit. My question is, have you been the last few years while you were owned by private equity, while you were stiffing these guys on the delivery of their trucks, did you spend any money? You're spending gobs of money on CEO compensation. Have you spent any money on stock buybacks or payouts to your private equity owners?
There's been allocation of resources in a lot of different areas.
In particular, it's $530 million in stock buybacks and dividend payments over the last few years. Doesn't that sound right?
I take your word for it, Senator.
And a special $180 million dividend payment to your private equity owners just before they sold the company. Does that sound right?
Well, I think what you're referring to is a $3 dividend that was paid to all stockholders, but that was
no. I'm referring to a special dividend that was paid out, $180 million. The vast majority of which went to your private equity ownership right before they exited. Another word for this would be a heist. This sounds to me like private equity came in, bought up all of these small companies, as you described it, good American manufacturing companies, combined them, shut down their production, rolled up a huge backlog, massive profits, stiffed these guys, and now you're making out like bandits. Is there anything you'd like to say to these good men and the men and women they represent,
yes,
whose lives are in danger because of your company's business practices?
Senator, I would. I mean, everything we do in the fire division is to build more trucks. We've increased our throughput by 40%. We've introduced S-180s, 20 different models of fire trucks that are less money and can be delivered under a year, because we also agree that backlogs are too long. This was because of a 43% increase in orders between 2022 and 2023, and we are working every day to get those lower.
If that were the truth, you wouldn't have shut down production lines. You wouldn't have allowed the backlog to reach the level that it is. You wouldn't be boasting about it on earnings calls, and you wouldn't be compensating your CEO when your customers are getting stiffed. Frankly, I think it's pretty indefensible. Senator Kim.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd actually like to pick up where he left off, because something you said there, Mr. Vernig, in response to the chairman asked you if these backlogs are by design, and if I remember correctly, you said that's not correct. So I guess I just want to ask you, do you see the backlogs as a good thing or a bad thing?
Senator, I see the backlogs as a bad thing, and that's why we are investing millions of dollars and we continue to increase our throughput. We're up 40% over the last 3 years.
I just, want to build off of what the chairman said here, because again, I was going through, I was looking through your Form 10K, and in addition to what the head of your company said, but like here, it just says in plain terms here, in business model produces attractive financial characteristics. And the end of the paragraph, it says, finally, certain of our businesses carry a relatively long duration backlog, which enables strong visibility into future net sales. It goes on to say, where this backlog visibility exists, we are able to more effectively plan and predict our sales and production activity. I mean, it just seems to me exactly what we were just saying, that this is part of your business model. So I guess I just want to ask you again, are the backlogs part of your business model? Is this something that you see as necessary for your business?
Senator, that is not necessary for our business. It's not how we want to run our business. We work every single day to bring these backlogs down, and we've actually reduced them to an average of 2 years, which is not enough, which is why we continue to invest back.
Where would you like to see it go?
I'd like to see it back to pre-pandemic levels.
And which was what?
Pumpers were 7 to 10 months, on the outside 12 months, and aerials were 12 to 18 months, depending on the complexity.
And what steps have you taken to be able to get down to that level?
Well, we've continued to hire thousands or hundreds of, if not thousands of skilled labor, which is one of the biggest problems we have. We've invested millions of dollars in every factory for lasers, punch brakes. We put in, we just bought our first robot paint system that we're going to try. We are doing everything we can, and then we just announced doubling the size of our Brandon, South Dakota facility on a $20 million investment. There's more that we're going to be doing at our facility in E1 that we'll be announcing soon as well. So
when are you going to get that? When are you projected to get that backlog down to pre-pandemic levels?
Well, we feel that we can get this down within the next 12 to 18 months to the pre-pandemic levels. Now, there's still going to be some of these very complex trucks we have. They take a much higher skill set, a much more trained skill set to be able to do those trucks. And those are the longest lines with trucks waiting for them, because it's thousands of hours of labor, and it takes really high skilled people to do those trucks.
Mr. Meyer, I'd like to just ask the same question to you. Where do you want to see your backlog get towards?
Sir, we believe pre-pandemic times, regardless of what the customer ordered from a customization standpoint, they could get a truck in 12 to 18 months. And our objective is to get to that.
12 to 18 months is acceptable to you?
12 to 18 months for a fully custom apparatus, sir. Currently, we have options for our stock units.
Where are you at right now in terms of how long it would take?
We have some units that are standard stock units. We have some of those apparatus that are on the ground today and could get delivered next week if a customer ordered them. We also have options in a middle configuration called Build My Pierce that has less customization. The ones that have less customization would be around 2 years. Trucks that have full customization, what we call a build-to-order truck, are currently around 2 to 4 years, depending on the specification.
So we've heard a lot of criticisms here in terms of how your companies have operated. And I guess just since we have you before us, since you're here under oath, I want to just ask very clearly and just hear from you. With your companies, Mr. Vernig and Mr. Meyer, your respective companies, has there been any effort on your end to engage in any anti-competitive practices, including collusion with any other company to suppress market competition, restrict the supply of fire apparatus, or engage in any other anti-competitive practices with the purpose of increasing the cost of fire apparatus? Mr. Meyer?
Sir, no, we have not participated in any anti-competitive behavior. We have 3,000 employees that go to work every day to serve firefighters, and they are working extremely hard to get these men and women the trucks that they've ordered and to get those lead times in check, sir.
Mr. Vernig?
No, Senator, we have never engaged in any kind of that activity, no.
Mr. Misharbish, I'd like to just turn to you. I'm not asking for you to make any verdict here, but I would like to hear more from you about whether or not the practices that you've been observing in the industry by both of these companies amount to, at a minimum, reasonable suspicion that they've engaged in anti-competitive practices?
Thank you for the question, Senator. I believe so, yes. Under the antitrust laws, we've always been concerned about financiers, large corporations with deep pockets going out and buying up the competition to consolidate market power. In this case, we've seen Rev Group go out and buy competitors until it amassed 30 to 40% market share on a national scale. There is a presumption in the antitrust laws that when a series of acquisitions leads to the consolidation of more than 30% market share, that is presumptively unlawful. That should be subject to investigation. Beyond that, we've also seen anti-competitive practices in the context of dealers. We've seen mergers between dealers that eliminated competition, and those seem to have been pushed from the center by Pierce and Rev Group. Those can be concerning from an antitrust perspective as well.
Mr. Vernig, I'd be interested in hearing your response to that claim about buying up the competitors over the course of the years. And Mr. Meyer, I'd be interested in hearing your response when it comes to the merger of dealers. Mr. Vernig, why don't we start with you?
We had just to level set, please, Senator, we had 4 purchases over the course of 17 years. Each one of those companies was in financial distress when we bought them. So I know for sure in the case of KME, but I can say for fairly certain if you look at the numbers in these other businesses that had we not purchased those companies when we did, they would not be in the marketplace today, which I think would exacerbate the problem that we have. And so I'm very happy that we are continuing to build these trucks and offer these products to our customers. As far as his market share, what he brings up on market share, there really is no definitive market share data that shows the entire industry, but I would disagree with his claims of what our market share is because we don't reach that point from the market that I see.
Mr. Meyer, if you can respond to the concerns about mergers of dealers.
Yes, Senator, I'd be happy to provide some clarity there. So we operate through independent dealers across the United States and Canada, and they operate over 120 service centers across that area. When a dealer goes about purchasing another dealer, and in most cases it's because a dealer is ready to retire and they're looking to exit their dealership, they would look to another dealer to sell to. When that takes place, we have high expectations that our dealers are investing in service and aftermarket and increasing the number of service centers available to customers so that we can expect to have trucks stay in service and supported longer. Our dealers invest heavily into those territories.
Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back.
Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, let me thank you for having this hearing. And thank you to the ranking member as well. You know, the chairman and I are on the Judiciary Committee. We do a lot of work on big tech and AI and antitrust issues affecting new technology. And the idea that fire apparatus should be in short supply when it is so critical to the lives of men and women who put their lives on the line every day to keep us safe is absolutely astonishing and abhorrent. Mr. Kelly, I love going to firehouses. I love firefighters. Every year, unfortunately and tragically, it seems we lose a firefighter. And often it is the result of antiquated and ineffective equipment. Not necessarily apparatus, but my view is our firefighters deserve the best, and they deserve it when they need it, and they're not getting it. And the people who suffer are not only the firefighters, but everyday Americans. I know in Connecticut, when I talk to firefighters and their leadership, they tell me they need stuff they're not getting. They're polite, courteous, but insistent. In Greenwich, Connecticut, just one example, the fire department had to buy a used truck to cover a 4-year delay in delivery for a new fire apparatus. I know how effective the Greenwich Fire Department is because they have come to my home. And all of us, in one way or another, experience the help and service of our fire department. For there to be just 3 manufacturers in this country who produce that fire apparatus essentially to their safety is no accident. And we can quibble about exact market shares, but we know that those 3 companies, your 2 and Rosenauer, control about 85% of the market. And the result has been delays and higher prices. So my conclusion from what I've heard so far at this hearing is that the Federal Trade Commission ought to be doing an investigation under 6B of its authority. Now, it begins that investigation by looking at the market and then what the effects have been, whether the market power has been misused in a way that stifles competition or restrains trade. And we're not enforcers here. The chairman and I used to be enforcers, and his very effective questioning shows he does pretty well in the courtroom. But I hope that the FTC is listening. I understand you reduced delivery times recently, very recently, but I don't think we can just say, we will trust you to get the job done, because it isn't working right now. And it is a classic example, in my view, of why we have antitrust laws. In your testimony, Mr. Mushbaresh, you wrote that, quote, some evidence even suggests they may have further entrenched their dominance through exclusionary arrangements with other manufacturers, input suppliers, and government procurement platforms. So it's not just that the numbers of manufacturers have been reduced, but there potentially has been other conduct that is anti-competitive. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about those exclusionary arrangements and
yes,
the types
Senator.
of anti-competitive tactics
Thank
that
you for the
FTC should be investigating.
Thank you for the question, Senator. Yes, and I do want to emphasize that we need more investigation in this area because the industry is opaque and we're not sure exactly what is happening. As I provided in my written testimony, we're seeing a situation where there's backlogs, there's delays, prices are high, but there is no competition from smaller manufacturers. And when we see a situation like that, there are often anti-competitive exclusionary arrangements at play. In this particular case, for example, we know that Pierce has exclusive arrangements with certain suppliers of inputs, I believe particularly steel, so that's one aspect that should be looked into, and whether that arrangement makes it harder for small businesses to compete. Beyond that, the Rev Group is the only supplier, to my knowledge, of custom cab chassis to small fire truck manufacturers. Those small fire truck manufacturers can't produce their own chassis. They rely on the Rev Group. For whatever reason, they have not been able to diversify their sources of supply to any of the other fire truck manufacturers who do produce chassis. It's important to look into whether the Rev Group has been imposing any requirements as part of their arrangements with those small manufacturers that make it harder for them to diversify and switch.
Thank you. My time has expired. Unfortunately, I have to go to another committee hearing, but again, my thanks to all of our witnesses. And I want to thank Mr. Vernig and Mr. Meyer for being here today to help explain your position. But I also especially want to thank Mr. Kelly and Chief Rubin for representing the firefighters of America so ably. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. We'll do a second round of questions. Mr. Meyer, I didn't get a chance to ask you questions earlier, which I'm sure really disappointed you. But let me just, since I have the opportunity now, you're here with the Pierce Company.
Yes, sir.
It seems to me, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to me that you have much the same business model as your colleagues in the Rev Group. Mr. Vernick here is sitting to your right. I mean, let me just show you something that a customer of yours said recently. This is Fire Chief Mike Kennedy of Ann Arbor, Michigan. He said that in 2022, he ordered a pumper engine from your company for $662,000. That's a lot of money. He went to place an order this year for the exact same engine and was told it would cost $1,068,769. That's a massive increase. Massive, massive increase. Is this what's allowing you to double your profit margins from 2022 to 2025?
Sir, we've seen substantial input cost increases in our supply base to Pierce from the time of that initial order to the time of that order in 2025. That said, we're very transparent with our customers about what that cost is so that we can deliver at that same dollar value that we've committed to.
But this is almost 4 times the rate of inflation. I mean, I've heard you say this. I've heard Mr. Vernick say it, that, oh, it's inputs, it's inflation. You know, inflation's been so high, and inflation has been high. There's no doubt, everybody in the room knows that. But your increases are 4 and 5 times the rate of inflation. Your price increases over the last 5 years are 7 times higher than the rate of increase than in the earlier part of this decade. I mean, that's extraordinary. And yet your profits have never been higher. I mean, don't you think that's a little strange? If your input costs are so dadgum high, how is it that you're doubling your profit margins?
Sir, the input costs that we have to consider are also impacted by the challenge of the lead time, which we also view, like our customers, bad for our business. The longer that lead time is, the more increases we receive from our supply base, which we absorb at Pierce into our costs, and we view the way to bring those prices down and to improve the visibility of those prices to bring the lead time down to our customer the way they demand.
Wait, did you just say that the backlog is bad for your business?
Sir, our customers demand trucks in 12 to 18 months. We're not delivering that right now.
Clearly not, but it's good for your business, isn't it? It's part of your strategy, isn't it?
Sir, I believe what's good for our business is listening to our customer. It's been made very clear today and from our customers that lead times that are in the way they are today.
Sure, listen, I agree with that. I mean, your customers are begging you for help. But meantime, your CEO is boasting about the fact that your backlog is up to $4 billion, just like the Rev Groups. I mean, let me read you something from your Investor Day presentation in 2025. This is your company now. Your company's own presentation says you're going to grow your profit margin to up to 12 or 14%. It used to be 4 and 5%. Currently, it's like 10 or 11. You're going to get it up to 12 or 14% profit margin. How? By using strong backlogs and price realization from the backlogs. Or here's your CEO last year, and I quote, "As a reminder, we have notably higher pricing in our backlog for fire trucks to be delivered in 2024 and beyond, which will enhance our margins." Or here's your CFO in 2024. "We have double-digit price increases in our backlog. That will continue over the next 4 years. And when it comes to fire trucks, we're starting to get into about a 3-year backlog that will continue to read through. We continue to expect to see the benefit of price." This is strategy.
Sir, it's a competitive marketplace. There's dozens of options where our customers can purchase their fire apparatus from.
Oh, I don't think so. There are dozens? There's only 2 or 3 manufacturers who control 80% of the market. This is what's astounding to me. Your business models are identical. Your customers hate them. They hate your business model. It's killing them. It's literally killing people. And yet, you're both doing it and making ungodly sums of money. Doesn't that suggest that maybe you're colluding? I mean, how is it that these good men and women sitting over here can't get a truck or an engine delivered in years? They're begging you for apparatus. And yet your CFO and CEO and every other member of your C-suite is boasting about how much money you're making on these backlogs. I mean, are your companies, are they working together? Do you guys collude on business model?
Sir, I don't work with the Rev Group on our business model.
But you get together every year, don't you, at the Fire Apparatus Manufacturers Association? The sort of few little companies that control the industry, you meet every year. You fund this group together, and you get together every year, and you discuss your strategy. Isn't that true?
Sir, I've never been to the Fire Apparatus Manufacturers Association.
But the Pierce Company is a member of the Fire Apparatus Manufacturers Association. You help fund it, don't you?
We are participants in FAMA yes.
Yes, and you go every year, and at those meetings, you get non-public data on the industry and what other manufacturers are doing. Isn't that correct?
So from what I understand, we only get the data back that we put in. So we don't see the inputs from other manufacturers. It's a very competitive marketplace, and if we participated in something that we were sharing trade secrets, we would not participate in that.
Oh, I don't think it's competitive at all. I think that's the problem. And it's not open, it's opaque. And in fact, at this association that you fund together, you have an entire committee dedicated to, and I quote, providing actionable data for strategic business planning, including economic data, fire market trends, and apparatus sales and order statistics. There it is. This is right off of the association's own promotional materials. In fact, both of your companies have recently been sued for collusion, haven't they, Mr. Meyer?
Sir, there is a lawsuit put against Pierce Manufacturing. We believe it's without merit.
And it goes to your collusion and the use of this association as an opportunity to get together and talk and plan strategy. Isn't that correct? I mean, that's what's alleged.
Sir, I'm not able to comment on pending litigation.
Yeah, I'm sure not. I mean, why shouldn't the FTC and the DOJ investigate? Is my question.
So the FTC did put an inquiry in. We've been actively cooperating with them and providing them information that they're requesting.
Here's the thing that gets me, is that you've got a $4 billion backlog. Your CEO gets paid even more than Mr. Vernick's CEO. I mean, it's unbelievable. Your profit margins are double digit, yet you're laying off people, you're constraining your production, you're stiffing your customers, and yet there's nothing they can do about it. Man. That is not a free market. I don't know what it is, but it's not a free market, and it has got to change. Gentlemen, I implore you, you need to do right by these people over here and by the people who we represent, whose lives are in danger because you're making so much money. There are some things that are more important than money, and our people's lives are one of those. Ranking Member Kim.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Vernick and Mr. Meyer, you both talked about one way to try to get costs down and the lead time down is about standardization of fire apparatus. There's been some criticisms of that, so I wanted to just ask you if you could respond to claims that the standardization efforts have failed to control rising costs and improve delivery times. Mr. Vernick.
Thank you, Senator, for that question. So we have 15 models of the standard trucks because there's different types of fire trucks used. Those models are, as I said earlier in my opening statement, we have slots available for those to be custom ordered and delivered still in 2026 at a much lower price point. So I believe that for the departments that Senator Hawley was referencing that are having these problems and can do with something less than custom, I think we have the answer for that, and I think that answer makes sense to a lot of firefighters. One of the benefits, or one of the reasons we invested in South Dakota, the $20 million investment we just announced, was that's where we build those vehicles, and we believe that that's going to help solve some of this problem that we're seeing with these truck backlogs that are too long. And so we're betting on that. We think that's the future. But fire departments, they want what they want. They need the trucks that they believe specification-wise are going to keep their community safe. And so, being in a competitive market, which we are in, we have to be able to build the trucks that the fire departments ask us to build, not the trucks that we want to build.
Mr. Meyer, do you want to respond?
Would you mind repeating the question, Senator?
Well, I was just saying that I was raising the concerns that the standardization efforts have failed to control costs and improve delivery times. Wanted to hear your reaction to that.
Yes, sir. We're focused on delivering to our customers, and we do that by listening to our customers. They demand customization in many different areas of the ways that they serve. To give you an idea, each of these trucks meets a specific mission profile. The community that I live in is rather rural. It doesn't have fire hydrants, so they require to have tanker trucks that carry thousands of gallons of water to my community and into my home if heaven forbid, they had to respond there. Other ones with high-rise buildings would require aerials and things of that nature. I will say we're hearing a lot from our customers and working with them closely on different options that improve lead times to minimize some of that.
Do you have standard models that are for, I mean, the chief was mentioning, different ways we do that. Do you have standard models for more rural communities, standard models for more of the urban?
Senator, I'm really pleased to say that we have a very similar methodology to our approach of building based on customization and quoting lead time based on customization that Chief Rubin had shared. So there's opportunities where somebody wants a fully custom truck, and that will indeed go down a separate lane. We call it lane 3, which has a longer lead time to the customer, where if they go through what we call our BMP program, which limits change and limits the variety of option content, they're able to get a substantially faster lead time. We share that information with our customer at the beginning of the order process, and we're transparent with them throughout so that if there's changes that they want to make to that apparatus, that they know what the impact of that lead time is throughout that. Or if there's elements that happen, as I shared, that the lead time's too long. And if there's something that happens that would impact their lead time, even from our supply base, we're communicating that with our customers throughout the process.
Mr. Kelly, if you don't mind, I'd like to bring you in on this and just get a sense from your perspective and from your members whether or not they believe that the standardization effort is lowering costs and lowering delivery times and providing the type of apparatus that they need.
Senator, we're open to any conversation about what might solve this problem, but there are unique situations in certain municipalities and jurisdictions where customization is warranted, and we have to be open to that.
I wanted to just, Mr. Musharbash, I wanted to just turn to you. You raised concerns about not just the backlogs, but that they've been used in another way for these companies to increase their profits, and that's through the incorporation of floating price clauses into their contracts. Would you mind going into a little greater detail on this and help us understand what you're seeing there and what practice that is?
Yes, Senator. Thank you for the question. I've seen reports from fire departments, and they're mentioned in my written testimony, about floating clauses where the Rev Group or Pierce or other manufacturers, because of the backlogs, would basically impose clauses that allow them to raise the price of a fire truck after it's been ordered. At some point, in some cases, it seems to be that the fire truck is ordered. It doesn't go into production for a long period of time, and then when it does go into production, the manufacturer will come back and raise the price or tell the fire department if they want this fire truck produced in time, they need to pay up. That seems to be occurring regularly. I know the companies have denied it, but fire departments have been complaining about it. And I'd be interested in learning why there's a discrepancy.
Mr. Meyer, do you deny that this practice takes place from your company?
I deny we do not participate in floating price clauses.
Mr. Vernick?
We guarantee the price of every contract, so we absolutely do not do that.
Yeah, I heard you say that earlier, and I just want to point out, even if you're guaranteeing that price and saying it's a fixed cost, I also read in your testimony here that you're saying, it's in your last page, but as a result of this commitment, we need to price not only for actual historical inflation, but also for expected inflation and other challenges between the sale and ultimate delivery. So I do just want to point out here that what you're doing is you're building into the cost that you're getting these fire companies to pay what you're expecting due to the backlog of your company's own production problems. You're making them pay for the additional costs that are taken up by the extra time that your company needs. So I get what you're saying, but I just wanted to point that out to you, that their costs are going up because you're slow in production. And I don't think that that's fair, that they have to cover the gap because you haven't invested in the necessary level to be able to meet this demand right now. And that's something I want to point out. And the other thing I want to just follow up on is, you talked about making sure that localities are known about what stock trucks you have and the standardization. I'm hearing some dispute about that. And that's something I'd like to make sure we're following up on, to make sure that you are, in fact, letting these towns and letting these fire departments know what kind of equipment is available to them, not just on the customization, but on the others, and what that means in terms of price and what that means in terms of lead times. With that, I'll yield back.
Senator Warren.
Thank you, Chairman Hawley. And I want to say a very special thank you to both of you, both for having this hearing and for permitting me to come today. I am not a member of this subcommittee, but I got a little special exception to be able to come in here and ask some questions, and I'm grateful for that. Look, every community relies on firefighters, and firefighters rely on equipment to keep themselves safe and to be able to put out fires. I want to focus today on the impact of concentration in the industry and what it means to have diminished competition when firefighters and their communities are out looking to buy firefighting equipment. Over the last 20 years, private equity has been buying up independent fire truck manufacturers to the point that today, just 3 companies own approximately 80% of all fire truck manufacturers. And what have these gigantic corporations done with all that market power? Well, they have hiked prices, restricted supply, and created a dangerous backlog of firefighting equipment. I just pulled some examples at random. In 2013, a pumper truck cost $500,000. Today it costs $1 million. In 2013, a ladder truck cost $900,000. Today it costs $2 million. In 2019, the lead time for a fire truck delivery was 1 year. Today, it's up to 3.5 years. So let me start with you, if I can, General President Kelly. You represent more than 350,000 firefighters all across this country, which is why Senator Banks and I wrote you a letter about this very topic. Could you explain how private equity roll-ups of fire truck manufacturers threaten firefighters' ability to protect the communities that they serve?
Absolutely, Senator, and thank you for the question. Chief Rubin testified earlier. In his city, they had to put, because they did not have enough apparatus on hand to staff the firehouses, they were putting firefighters out basically on pickup trucks.
Oh my God.
Like painting crews with ground ladders. Now, if you're trapped in the 3rd or 4th floor, you're jumping. Mm-hmm. And that is not how emergency response is designed in this country. We have standards that have been created over many times, and unfortunately, when we read about a fire code or a standard, it's usually in the shadow of a devastating loss of life. And we don't make these up. There's a reason that these standards are in place. And what's been created, notwithstanding, the streamlined ordering process, which that Pierce line, although it's supposed to streamline the production, still takes 2 to 3 years to deliver an engine or a ladder truck. Mm-hmm. Not only do we need to do better, we need to investigate how we got here. Yeah. And that's why in the wake of your letter, we've actually written to the Department of Justice and the FTC to investigate this.
Oh, I appreciate that very much. I just want to underscore this again. We are talking about 3 companies that control 80% of all manufacturing. They know they can hike prices and nobody can afford to walk away. That's the consequence of these roll-ups that concentrate, so there's less and less competition here. And this is why it is important that the federal government investigate and enforce the law to prevent this from happening. The Federal Trade Commission has the authority to investigate whether private equity firms and other giant companies have broken competition laws, going very much to your point, President Kelly, and whether they've made it more difficult for firefighters to do their jobs and keep us safe. So, Mr. Musharbish, you're an expert on competition. Let me just ask you, would a study by the FTC help shed light on this issue and help firefighters get the equipment they need to keep their communities safe?
Absolutely, Senator.
Good. You want to elaborate on that? You can. I still got some more time if you want to say a little bit more.
I would love to, Senator. Thank you for the question. I would say that a 6B inquiry would help in two ways. On the one hand, it could shed light on the practices of the dominant firms, Rev Group and Pierce, to make sure that the public and lawmakers know about those practices and whether they're anti-competitive or abusive, or whether they present barriers to competition for small manufacturers. Beyond that, a 6B inquiry would very much help us understand the barriers, the other barriers to competition for the small manufacturers. Why is it that they can't expand? Why is it that they can't, for example, many of them can't acquire steel and make their own chassis? That's why a 6B inquiry would be very helpful here. Absolutely.
Okay, that's very helpful. And President Kelly, do you agree that you'd like to see the FTC investigate and write a report on this?
Absolutely. I think that we've actually wrote a letter and asked them to involve themselves in it. And to your point, when you see, three companies controlling 80% of the market share, it harkens me back to the reminder of trying to buy concrete in Manhattan in the late 1980s.
Yeah. Very, very good. And Chief Rubin.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Without a doubt, I think to have the investigation move forward is critical. I would just dare say, going back to one of your earlier questions, during the International Association of Fire Chiefs Conference in 2024, we met with the president, just happened to be there, of Pierce, and he described the fact they expect escalating prices coupled with more delays. Verbalize that. After that, we had meeting after meeting. It was just interesting the way you described your question, because you were exactly right with their local distributorship, Conrad. Conrad said they weren't going to be able to do anything better than 3 years and maybe longer with price increases. And quite frankly, at that point, we made a determination to go with another company. We're actually using, as they say, full disclosure, Spartan, which is part of the Rev Group. But we're going to get a little bit better delivery time. Not great, but better. And the price was significantly lower than what we were going to pay with Pierce.
But you remind me, Chief Rubin, on this, not only the risks that President Kelly points out, but that the problem is headed in the wrong direction. That is, that it's getting potentially here, that it is getting worse.
Without a doubt. Again, going back to the time when we were without 5 fire trucks of 15 total, we contacted every fire department that we knew of that had used fire apparatus for sale. That was back in July of 2023 with no results. We looked at every manufacturer available, and there were 4 fire trucks that we found in Louisiana. We bought 3 of the 4 immediately, and they didn't really meet our needs. They were rural fire trucks in an urban setting, but at least it got us out of what I would describe as a major crisis. And exactly as the general president described, if someone would have been trapped on the 2nd or 3rd floor in Kansas City, Kansas, during that window, which was a 3-month window, and we documented 108 different calls that we went on, the firefighters would arrive and they'd wait for the real fire truck to show up to go to work.
I appreciate that. I don't want to be the guest that came and ate all the pork chops, but I just wondered if, Chairman Hawley, could I have a couple of more minutes just to ask Mr. Verning and Mr. Meyer about this? You represent the 2 largest fire conglomerates, Rev Group and Pierce, and together your 2 companies alone control more than 60% of the market, thanks to private equity's 2-decade-long efforts now to buy up the smaller manufacturers. So you've heard from everyone else on the panel that an FTC study of what's going on in the fire equipment manufacturing industry would help firefighters do their jobs more effectively and more safely. So, Mr. Verning, yes or no? Would you support an FTC study?
Senator Warren, thank you for that question. The FTC has reached out to us, and we've had conversations with them. They've asked us to supply a lot of information based on the things that we're talking about here today, and we were more than happy to supply that for them.
Well, okay, so you would support a study, yes? Is that what you're
I
saying?
continue to work with the FTC in any way they
Yes,
see.
you would support a study? It's not a hard question.
I would continue to, we would
This is
continue
as
to work.
easy as my questions get. Would you
Senator,
support a study?
So I don't know what a study is because I build fire trucks for a living,
Really?
and I don't know what that term is. I know that we're working with them. I don't know to what level we are, so I apologize.
Okay, I'll take that as the game of dodgeball. Mr. Meyer, how about you? Would you support an FTC study?
We've also been engaged with the FTC with inquiries that they've had, and we'll continue to work with them and cooperate with them on any requests that they have.
Okay. Would you support a study?
We're going to continue working with the FTC at anything that requests that they have and be.
Look, I just want to say, if you are so confident that you are doing right by the fire departments across America, then why would you be afraid of a study? Why wouldn't you just stand up and say, it's a study? Just come in, find out what's happening, find out what's changed over time, as President Kelly says, how we got here, and try to answer the question that Chief Rubin is asking, and that is, what's the path we're on going forward? Why is it so hard for 60% of the industry, who is so sure you're doing a good job, just to stand up and say, sure, come and study us. We got nothing to hide. Or did I get that wrong? Maybe you've got something to hide?
Ma'am, we're more than a 100-year-old company. We've been fair, honest, and transparent with our customers through that. I don't believe we have anything to hide. I don't know the details of what the difference between an inquiry and a study are as it relates to the FTC. And ma'am, I don't know what exactly that means. But at the same time, we will continue cooperating.
Well,
and
I just want to point out, the guys who put their lives on the line, they didn't have to stop and ask what the difference is between an inquiry and a study. They said, we'd just really like to know what's going on. People who study competition said, this is a real problem here. We'd really like to know what's going on. And the people who are on the front lines, who are hearing about where this problem is headed and who it is who's next time around going to be sent out in a pickup truck in the middle of a fire to try to save lives and maybe put their own lives at risk, they didn't have to ask the difference between an inquiry and a study. They said, please, bring in the FTC and let's get a study. I sure would like to get this done if we could, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Ranking Member. Thank you, and thank you for your indulgence sometime.
Absolutely, thank you. I'll just say this as we close the hearing. Thanks to all of our witnesses for being here today. We appreciate you being here and your testimony. I hope that today's hearing will bear fruit. We've certainly learned a lot, much of it disturbing. And I just want to say to our corporate friends, you don't have to wait for prosecution or for a study or for anything else to do the right thing. Yeah. And you've heard today from the chief and from President Kelly about what's happening right now and the lives that are in danger. And I hope that this hearing will result in real changes. You said that you want to do right by your customers. I hope that tomorrow we'll see some real change. And in the meantime, I hope that we'll see some action on the part of this body and the FTC and anybody else who has a piece of it to make sure that this industry begins to function again for the people of this country and the firefighters who keep us safe. Thanks again to all of the witnesses. We've got, I want to make sure I get entered into the record several witness statements from fire leaders nationwide who contributed today. Chief Matthew Timmerman of Watertown, New York Fire Department, Chief Gil Carpenter of Salem, Arkansas, Chief Mike Kennedy of Ann Arbor, who I quoted a moment ago, Chief Richard Potter of Shawnee, Kansas, and Mr. Nick Magato of Brothers Helping Brothers in Ohio. Without objection, they'll all be made part of the hearing record. The record for the hearing will remain open for 15 days until Thursday, September 25th at 5 p.m. for the submission of statements and questions for the record. And with that, today's hearing is adjourned.